What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Chris, this is 4K Motoring, and today I'm going to tell you why you really should not update your Fossil Gen 6 smartwatch to Android Wear 3.0. Stay tuned, let's check that out. So the time has come. We now have our Pixel Watch, and we've had our Fossil Gen 6 now for a solid year. And overall, I've got to tell you, I've got a comparison video coming, but these two watches have been so close, even closer than I could have imagined them being in terms of performance, specification, just daily use. They've been nearly identical, obviously for different price points. What I want to talk about today is the Fossil Gen 6. I know we just did a video on that. It recently got its Wear OS 3 update. There's a problem with that. It was not a forced update yet because Fossil admits that it's not fully ready for this watch. All the features not enabled yet. And let me tell you, the experience on this watch since updating has been way less than adequate. So from my experience, the Fossil Gen 6, when it was running its Android Wear version 2, this was an amazing smartwatch. Now, I've loved, in particular, the individual buttons, programmable buttons it had, the top and bottom buttons, as well as the rotating crown bezel. And I loved the battery features and the different kind of extended battery modes that Fossil offered to turn off individual things to really save battery life. And that made that old version of Android Wear that was very power hungry a lot more manageable. Now, we turn to Android Wear 3.0. This is something that, if you don't know, is an option to download on the Fossil Gen 6 smartwatch at this time. I actually found this on Reddit. If you go into the System tab and to System Updates, and for about 30 seconds just keep tapping on the watch screen while it's in that System Update screen, it'll pop up that there's an update ready. It didn't tell me otherwise, so I guess that's a way to force past it. I'm not quite sure. But in doing so, it ended up getting rid of pretty much everything I loved about this watch, and that bothers me immensely. Now, to talk about specifically what it's done. So overall, it has taken the gesture-based navigation, made everything a little bit prettier. So I'll give it credit for that. That's not bad. Everything is still quick. Again, the Fossil watch technically has a faster processor than the Pixel watch does. And the fact that it gets identical battery life is pretty amazing. The thing that I used to use all the time, as I mentioned in my last video, the things I used on this watch, I did occasional fitness track when I did mountain biking, but that was about all I did fitness tracking with this. I did look at the pulse oximetry and, you know, some of the heart rate stuff just anecdotally, nothing too serious. But I used it to respond to messages, I used it for phone calls, I used it for Google Pay, and I used it for the flashlight app. That's it. That's what I use my smartwatch for. And I know that doesn't make me one of the, you know, high-end smartwatch users, but that's what I've used them for. I've had a smartwatch since the Moto 360 came out in 2014. That's how long I've had them. I've used the same features the whole time. And the watches have gotten better since 2014, for sure, but not dramatically enough to kind of justify buying them every year, that's for sure. And that's something we'll talk about with the Pixel Watch. With Wear OS, the two buttons that I used to use, the new 3.0, the two buttons I used to use, now one of them is not programmable anymore. The top one is by default the Google Assistant, which is bothersome because it used to be pressing and holding the center bezel, the rotating crown, was the Google Assistant. And now that just brings up the app and the power off menu, which I didn't need to have on a button. The bottom button is something that I've always had, and it's been the flashlight. I was able to still map that to a flashlight, but here's my problem. When I go to the flashlight app, you'll see now there is a ring around it where it dims around the edges, much like the Pixel Watch does for their apps to make it look like a, you know, more seamless UI so the bezel's not that apparent. But that takes away some of the brightness. I'm using a flashlight so I can see and illuminate an area, and that takes some of that away. It also doesn't activate this backlight at 100%. So I switched to the flashlight and it is very dim. It switches the screen white, but it is a very dim white. It doesn't take it to max on that mode. And that's a real problem. I don't really know why it's doing that, but it's made it so that feature that I use frequently is not usable. It doesn't do anything for me. It's not helpful. So that took that feature away. The Google Pay is still available, and that's a different double tapping of the crown now, so that's still available. It just has a different kind of shortcut to get there, and that's fine. The UI has lost Google Assistant. And I'll say that again, the Android Wear 3.0 has lost Google Assistant. That is unforgivable. That's something that shouldn't even be able to be brought out. I had been testing these watches back to back and noticed how well both of them did with voice recognition and contacting the Google Assistant and getting answers. It's not available anymore on the Fossil watch. And I know that's probably going to be an update that's probably going to happen sooner rather than later. I understand a lot of these things are bugs, very early bugs. That's why it wasn't pushed out to everybody. It will be fixed. But right now, it is absolutely ruining this experience. I really didn't want to go into a lot of detail on the difference between the Pixel Watch and the Fossil watch on this video. That's one that's coming up. I want to be pretty detailed on that. I did just want to make this quick one to tell you, do not update your Fossil Gen 6 to Wear OS 3 at this point. Again, it is October 20th, 2022. Do not update to Android Wear 3.0 on your Fossil Gen 6. It will ruin the watch. Like I said, stay tuned for more. We're going to have more comparing this Pixel Watch to the Fossil Gen 6. It's going to be coming very soon, so stay tuned for that. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button so you're notified of the future videos. Let me know if you have any specific questions that I can answer. I'm happy to do that. I've had a couple people leave comments and special requests. Make sure I include all that as well. Thanks for watching 4K Motoring. We'll catch you next time.